We're a company that makes the network work. We don't develop the call processing software like BroadWorks itself. We develop other tools and do other parts of the project, like helping select the software, configuring the software, and doing the integration and remediation as we connect things together. Acceptance testing and compliance certification, so looking at whether you're really meeting all the standards that you need to and want to meet. And then we do training and operations support as well. Top news today, and we'll roll through this.
So according to data from Google Trends, the interest in the search terms BroadSoft and BroadWorks has actually grown in the last 2 years when we compare it with the 2 years before Cisco's acquisition of BroadSoft. And this suggests that despite the reduction of the direct marketing for those two brand names, general awareness of the BroadWorks platform is still around.
And Cisco is investing in improvements in the execution server, the XS component, primarily used by mobile operators in IMS deployments. They're adding PBX and unified communications features that were previously only available on the application server mode. Some of these features include call logs, push to talk, and group paging. And previously they just weren't available to those that were deploying IMS. So those mobile operators now have a chance to take advantage of some of those efficiency enhancements in the long-standing SIP feature set for like busy LAN field, including reducing the number of SIP messaging in that popular feature.
So another interesting area is in system management. And one of the big changes that's coming for those operating BroadWorks systems is that all the servers, except for the application server, are moving away from patches and they're moving to release independent versions. So this means that those servers will not be patched anymore, but instead they're going to be upgraded periodically. So the upgrade process is substantially simpler in general than the patching process. For most servers, this removes the long-standing capability of picking and choosing individual patches, relying simply on instead on activating the desired functions instead of not installing those individual pieces of software.
So the ADP, the new application delivery platform, is replacing the profile server and the extended services platform, or XSP. Applications will be deployed to the ADP in largely the same way that they were deployed on the XSP and the PS, and then tools are provided to convert existing servers to the ADP.
So stay tuned for that. Also, the Network Function Manager, the NFM, it offers a replacement to the EMS, or the Element Management System for BroadWorks, and it now includes a pre-configured collection of KPIs, or key performance indicators, for monitoring BroadWorks, so that you can make sure you have that element management that you need, or perhaps even some network management, be able to manage other network elements as well. Up until now, easily seeing whether or not the BroadWorks platform was functioning well has required extensive development work and or third-party solutions, but now you can get an at-a-glance view that's a mature product.
So as we're going to cover in more depth in a briefing following this section, Cisco's moving further to adopt Ansible, a product from IBM's division Red Hat, for server automation. So Ansible promises to change the way BroadWorks server software is installed and maintained on servers, ideally reducing the fairly painstaking process of copying files and cross-configuring servers on the command line.
On documentation, Cisco has made progress moving to a standard Cisco documentation format, announcing today that field notices would get published on Cisco.com. Cisco continues to send email alerts to notify customers about changes required to maintain their platform.
So, and many of you know that the call center features continue to evolve, but BroadWorks has deprecated the ability to generate reports on BroadWorks. Back in April 2019, it was officially in the sale, and now call center event reporting, or CCER, if you want to use the new acronym, has been added to BroadWorks to record events to a JSON formatted text files and enable the BroadWorks operator to then take those files, have them automatically pushed off of the application server to another third-party solution or homegrown solution to format those reports in whatever way works best for you and your customers.
So another enhancement related to call center is called supervisor coaching. So it's another way that a call center supervisor can assist an agent. So it allows the supervisor to join a call center call and speak only to the agent, but not allow the regular caller, the person who's called into the call center, to hear the agent. So that's another enhancement on call center that's come out recently.
We're not going to get into a lot of depth in this, but if you're using RoutePoint, Cisco is releasing several new features around the programmable RoutePoint API, including some for call center agents. And these can enhance the operator's abilities to develop more complex call flows for calls that are routed through BroadWorks.
Transitioning to BroadWorks device management, the management of Cisco devices will get easier with the new device activation functionality, and it's added to simplify the assignment of the SIP endpoint devices, or the phones in most cases, sometimes soft clients, to the users in BroadWorks to which they associate. The device vendors will continue to rely on other platforms for device activation, some of those being in the cloud.
So there's new TLS capabilities in the servers. We're going to talk about some of those soon. But despite those new capabilities, Cisco continues to recommend the use of a web application firewall or a load balancer between SIP access devices and the device management web server. Now, this mirrors ECG's recommendation. We have no concern with this. We're definitely simpatico on this particular point. But it's just an interesting network design element that they're continuing to maintain. So that device is intended to mitigate DDoS attacks. It performs certain TLS functions and prevents other attacks against the XSP. But it's just an interesting point that this continues to be part of their recommended design. That even with these TLS enhancements they've got, they're still recommending that as a standard piece that can be deployed in front of your XSP server.
The speed that we can generate config files in our platform will get a boost in R24. In R24, the number of CPU threads available to generate config files can be managed.
So another enhancement around device management is that there's a new kind of custom tag that basically creates a concept of device family so that we can share tag sets between a related device type. And another related new capability is that tags can be automatically tuned or customized by BroadWorks based on the region or country of the device. So it gives us some additional automation capability around your device types that formerly would have been done with custom tags.
And it's interesting to know that since Cisco's purchase, the addition of new partner configuration guides has kind of dropped significantly. That's from 62 new device types just prior to 2017 to only 8 new device types in 2019. Device and software makers may be taking a wait-and-see approach to Cisco's management of BroadWorks before introducing more configuration guides.
Moving into Cisco Integration here, many carriers are going to market with WebX for BroadWorks. While some are still maintaining the classic UC1 Collaborate or UC1 SaaS, also called sometimes UC Connect, WebX for BroadWorks will be covered in a briefing. It removes the option of a branded mobile app for each operator, each carrier. At a recent event, WebX1, some at Cisco called that app Your New Desk Phone. But at the same time, they announced a new desktop device, the WebX Desk Hub.
Some new integration enhancements allow other Cisco calling platforms like Unified Communication Manager and HCS, the hosted collaboration solution, to add cellular network integrations through BroadWorks. This suggests a pretty clear bifurcation between the carrier-focused BroadWorks and the enterprise-focused UCM and HCS.
So enhancements were added to support compatibility with new E911 emergency calling regulations in the US, including Kerry's Law and Ray Baum's Act. BroadWorks can now send notification via email when an emergency call is placed. And BroadWorks already had some of the other necessary infrastructure to support these new regulations, including the ability to send a distinct caller ID for each user who's placing an outbound 911 call, even if these users don't otherwise have a DID. that's a feature that's potentially required for new dispatchable location requirements.
And BroadWorks can now directly contact Shaken and Stir servers to do the secure identity attestation and verification. This will help operators comply with the FCC rules that were published in September, requiring call authentication tagging even for calls within the network, their own network.
The enhanced encryption standard TLS version 1.3 appeared in the command line on the ADP. That's the new server that's replacing the profile server in the XSP, indicating that support for that new standard is on the way. It's not available yet, but it's coming. An interesting point for operators is that with eventual migration to TLS 1.3 and perfect forward secrecy, which is a fundamental part of that standard, some of the conventional approaches to troubleshooting your network will no longer be available. So changes will be required.
Some changes have been made in the platform to allow operators to anonymize or encrypt personally identifiable information, PII. This includes the obfuscation of passwords, which have for a long time been visible in some logs. This will help operators comply with California consumer privacy laws, European Union's GDPR, and the United States federal healthcare data law, HIPAA. Cisco doesn't certify compliance with any particular standard, so this leaves it to the service providers or to external assessors like ECG to confirm the particular encryption standards against those regulations that you're trying to guard against.
And encryption in transit, not just file-based encryption, but support for encryption in transit gets a boost with HTTPS support for the transfer of media files between BroadWorks servers. And many other file transfers are already encrypted and can employ TLS security.
To support robocalling prevention, blocking programs that are allowed now, BroadWorks says inbound call blocking support, allowing numbers to be provisioned for blocking, and it allows up to 10 million telephone numbers to be provisioned from which calls will be blocked by BroadWorks automatically.
Cisco recently held the WebX1 Conference as a virtual event in early December, which they promised as a replacement for BroadSoft connections that we all have known and loved. While they did have a few BroadWorks-focused sponsors supporting the event, the primary presence of BroadWorks was really behind the scenes as the calling platform for WebEx calling. No real sessions were held focusing on BroadWorks, and the Cisco staff performing the one-on-one demos were generally focused on WebEx and the unified communications manager features.
Before we go to our next briefing, I do want to bring up one clarification on, there's a little bit of a distinction on the ECCR. We talked about the enhanced call center reporting and its replacement with call center event reporting. And just to be clear, one of our contacts let us know that ECCR is not actually deprecated, but what is not available is to purchase a new DBS platform license from Oracle. So that does change it so that ECCR will continue to be supported, but you can't expand a database server according to this contact. We can cover other details on that later. I've got a couple of other questions we'll cover here at the end, but I wanted to provide that little factual update for accuracy.
Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
so if you guys have follow-up questions, here are our email addresses and phone numbers. We'll be glad to hear from you on anything you'd like to talk about. Also got Trevor Wolford's contact information on there if you're looking to discuss a new project. But we're glad that you came. We will send out a follow-up email and let you know how to order your coffee mug. And you get to pick the one that you want to do that. And send any other questions that you've got. And please come back next quarter when we'll be telling you about new things that have come out and the directions that BroadWorks software is going in next year. So thanks and have a good holiday season. Thanks, John. Thanks, Brian.